Hello Imaginers, it's Kyla coaching you to the career and life that you imagined. And in this episode, as I talked about a little bit last week, I want to talk to you about something I'm calling courageous byproducts. It's so interesting when we exhibit courage because there's oftentimes an outcome that produces a multiplier effect. I'm on the water at our land today, and it always makes me think about skipping rocks. And when you skip rocks, as you know, if you do it right, you can generally speaking get it to hit the water multiple times and skip. There's a multiplying effect that happens. And I'm finding the same thing is happening the more that I exhibit courage. As I talked about last week, I have exhibited courage and knew what the outcome was going to be. And then I've also exhibited courage and maybe the outcome is farther down the road, which is what I'm going to talk about today. But there's already byproducts of that courage that start happening. And that's what I'm experiencing right now. So let me tell you a little bit about how I'm being courageous. I am coming to the close of my 50th year. I'll be 51 next month in October. And the 50th year is not exactly what I wanted it to be. There was supposed to be a trip internationally to celebrate, and that had to be postponed due to the pandemic. And so I've been thinking a lot this year about what are the things that I can control that I want to still move toward. And there's kind of been this nudge that I have felt for a while to get back into dance performance. If you've watched some of my previous videos, you know that I grew up dancing, and it's something that is just incredibly cathartic for me. I almost have a minor in dance from TCU, and I started dancing when I was about 12, and I performed with a company until I was in my late 20s. And then the dance started kind of going like this, like many things in our lives. And what I've come to realize over the past few years is that I'm not able to perfect anything the way that I used to be when I performed. And part of that is opportunities for people my age to perform are a little bit different. And then also I'm just not as flexible as I used to be. And there's just things I can't do that I could do when I was 20. And so a few years ago, again, if you've watched my videos, you know that one of the things I wanted to perfect again was being able to stand on point shoes. I hadn't been able to do it in many years. And it took me almost a year of building up my core, building up my ankle strength, which is really the hardest part, to get back on my point shoes, but I did. And so I think that's been kind of rolling around in my head of what else could I perfect when it comes to dance? What else could I do? And so I've decided that I want to have a dance piece choreographed for me at this stage of my life and what I can do, from what I feel comfortable doing, what I'm capable of doing. And I don't want to perfect that, so I want to actually finish a piece, perfect it, find a small studio space to perform it in, just for friends, very close friends and family, small group, but get a costume, do makeup, the whole thing, and actually perfect something. And so I started thinking about, if that's my goal, as you know, in my coaching practice, what we do is we set goals with our future brain, which always has our highest self in mind, and we work backwards. And that's how we keep our lower brain, the primal brain that says, you can't do that, how would you even start to do that? It keeps it quieted. So I created this outcome and I started a work back plan. And what I got back to present day is to do some stretch therapy, because there are some aspects of my flexibility that I can improve and I want to. So I signed up for a stretch therapy appointment. I went to the appointment, and within about 5 minutes of talking to the stretch therapist, I found out that she was a budding entrepreneur, and we started talking about working together. And I started thinking about the byproduct that my courageous goal planning created. I would have never gone to stretch therapy if I hadn't created this goal. I would have never met this lovely budding entrepreneur who is my ideal client. And I would have never been able to, again, experience these byproducts of courage along the way. And I think the most amazing thing is I know this is just the beginning of the byproducts of courage. I know that I'm going to experience all kinds of byproducts over the next year, and some of them are going to be learnings, some of them are going to help clarify more of what I want to move into, maybe more of what I want to move away from. But all of that came from that one courageous goal that I created, and then again a work back plan to help me get there, so that once I created that courageous goal, I could create a work back plan that required much less courage, because again I was using my higher brain to create what those steps were. And our higher brain always has all of the answers. Emotion is out of the equation when we're working with our higher brain. And so we can turn off a lot of that fear, that uncertainty, that, again, unknowing of how do I even go about doing this when we start with the end. So I hope that that inspires you this week to think about taking a courageous step. Think about creating a small, courageous goal and perhaps creating some work back steps to get there. If you want help, I'd love to help you create some courageous byproducts. Check out my website at kylamartinconsulting.com, and there is a inspiration tab on there as well. And if you want to sign up for my weekly email, which gives additional tips and tricks to the life that you imagine living, I'm going to be posting a bonus video in my email this week to give you an update on our progress of building on the land. So stay tuned for that bonus video if you want to sign up for my newsletter. As always, you know, I'm cheering you on. You have everything you need, I promise, to the life and career that you imagined. Take care, everyone.